We all always notice the presence of police dogs with police officers or any security authority. Anyone among us entering a mall, hotel, or other facility will find, in front of the garage entrance, security guards accompanied by trained police dogs. Before any car enters the garage, it must be inspected. The first stage is a manual inspection by the security personnel, and the second stage is where the dogs themselves circle around the car to perform a more precise inspection than the first. If the dogs remain calm after circling the car, that means everything is fine and there is no problem. But if the dogs start barking loudly, that means there is something suspicious in the car at the garage entrance. So what's the story behind police dogs? How can they detect drugs, explosives, and other substances that pose a threat to public safety? And why, despite the technological advancements of our time, do we still rely on dogs? Why haven't they been replaced with electronic alternatives to this day? Welcome to our channel, Wonders of Secrets. But before we begin, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell to receive our videos as soon as they are released. With the growing issue of drugs and explosives and the intensified struggle between security agencies and smuggling gangs, each side has started to resort to tricks and tools to achieve their goals. Smugglers and drug gangs are becoming more creative in hiding drugs from the eyes of security personnel, and over time, they continue to develop their hiding methods. On the other hand, security agencies are also advancing their detection techniques, striving to catch smugglers red-handed. Recently, security agencies around the world have started relying on police dogs to detect drugs and locate them, especially after studies and field experiments prove the effectiveness of dogs in this particular field. Dogs have an extremely powerful sense of smell. While you recognize your surroundings mainly through sight and can look around for kilometers, dogs do the same through their sense of smell. A dog's nose works like a human eye. To understand the power of a dog's sense of smell, here's a fun comparison. Experts say if there's a bowl of soup made from 10 types of vegetables all blended together into a liquid form, and you ask a human to smell it, they'll sense one unified aroma. But if a dog smells the same soup, it can identify each of the 10 ingredients separately. A dog's sense of smell is thousands of times stronger than a human's. Add to that their physical strength, high alertness, especially at night, loyalty, obedience, and trainability, and you'll see they're perfectly qualified to be valuable members of security forces, particularly in inspection roles. Let's get right into it. How do police dogs detect drugs? It all relies on the dog's sense of smell. But to train a dog for this task, certain steps must be followed. First, we need to choose the right type of dog, one with a very strong sense of smell, as this ability varies from breed to breed. Once the breed is chosen, the dog is trained to recognize the scent of the substance it's supposed to search for. The process is simple and not complicated. The trainer brings a toy for the dog and lets it play with it constantly until it becomes attached. For example, it could be a piece of cloth tied to a rope. The dog plays with it day and night until it develops an emotional connection to the toy. Then the trainers start adding specific scents to the toy, the very substances the authorities want the dog to detect later. After that, they hide the cloth and let the dog search for it. The dog roams the area until it finds the cloth by following its scent. Once it finds it, the trainer rewards it and plays with the toy together. The key is that the dog mentally associates finding the toy with receiving a reward. So that scary dog you see sniffing for drugs or explosives in a heroic scene full of excitement and patriotism is actually just looking for its toy. That's the technique trainers use to leverage the dog's strong sense of smell. The next step after training dogs to find their scented toy among drugs or prohibited items is preparing them for real police work. Dogs must be able to perform their duties under stress and loud noise, as it's very likely gunfire might erupt during operations. That's why training includes exposing dogs to gunfire and loud door sounds to acclimate them to such situations, like a simulation of real-life scenarios. That way, the dogs will be fully ready for duty. Some people think police dogs is a specific breed used exclusively by law enforcement. That's not true. There is no breed called police dog. The term refers to any dog used by security agencies, regardless of its breed. You'll find police using Dobermans, Boxers, Wolves, and most famously, German Shepherds. Because of their frequent use, people often think police dog refers specifically to German Shepherds. Now, are these the only types of dogs used by police? In fact, no. Other breeds can be used too, as long as they meet certain requirements. These include a strong enough sense of smell, which is the main foundation, preferably being male, aged between 8 to 14 months, and not being afraid of loud sounds or gunfire. It's also very important for the dog to have a calm and balanced temperament, neither aggressive nor vicious, because police dogs are expected to work in public areas like streets, malls, clubs, and other crowded places. It's unacceptable for a police dog to attack civilians. Its job is not to assault anyone, but to search for prohibited items. One interesting theory some people have about police dogs is that the police make them addicted to drugs. If you think about it, it might sound logical. Police dogs constantly smell drugs during training and inspections. So, wouldn't that make them addicts? In reality, that's not the case. Dogs are not addicted to drugs. They aren't exposed to large doses during training. Trainers allow them to smell very small, controlled amounts just so they can recognize the scent later. These small doses are referred to as the safe limit, amounts so tiny they're nearly invisible. Why? Because dogs have an extraordinary sense of smell. The National Institute of Standards and Technology in the U.S. states that dogs can detect substances even if present in minuscule amounts, like dissolving a spoonful of sugar in a swimming pool. For dogs, that's enough to recognize the scent. In other words, a single drop of a drug is enough. Now, you might wonder, if the amount of drugs a dog is exposed to during training is tiny, wouldn't the large quantities found during real inspections pose a risk? Not really, because another factor is considered exposure time. When a dog finds a large quantity of drugs, security personnel immediately remove it from the area. Also, one key part of training is that dogs don't get rewarded until they make a specific action, indicating they found drugs. That's it. We're done. Who reached this point? Whoever did, you are the best. Please give us a like before you leave so we can know how many of you made it to the end. And don't forget, if you have any questions or something puzzling you, write it down in the comments under the video so we can answer it. Peace.